the Orthodox Church.
You.
The people who follow the Han Mother are heretics.
That's right.
The six Marys, they are connected to saints, or married to saints in the spiritual world. For example, Jesus and Confucius, and they are 6 persons in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
Augustine also.
Sure.
Socrates. Confucius.
I mean, the whole notion of 6 Marys or 60 Marys or 600 Marys is basically the process of restoration.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because when the world was created, it was created as one man and one woman, and so that was supposed to be the start of human history. But the world progressed from that family level to the social, clan, national, and world level. And so there's been an expansion of human history, an expansion of the fallen lineage.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get to the point of the mission of the Messiah, the Messiah actually has to reverse that fall. So that means that from the world level has to be reduced to the individual level. Means all the women in the world, 3.5 billion women, has to become one woman. So basically what the Messiah comes to do, he comes to marry the object partner. Initially there was only one object partner. When the Messiah came, there were 3.5 billion object partners.
Mm-hmm.
And so actually, if you're looking at the process of restoration, every single object partner in the world is actually supposed to receive the Messiah's seed.
Wow.
But that's what the 6 married providence is about. It's about that since the Messiah physically can't be giving his seed to every single woman, there's representative women through which he transfers seed representatively to all the women of the world. And so that process of restoration is a one-time event which the Lord in the second coming does. And once it's fulfilled, then it restores the relationship back to one man and one woman.
Right.
So that's the difference in understanding, is that the Messiah comes as a unique role. He comes fully as a man, but he's also fully God. And that's the unique nature of the Lord in the second coming. And the unique mission of the Lord is to restore what was lost. And so that process of restoration happens only once. And so once that's done, then it goes back again to the original order, which is one man and one woman. That's what principle requires. And if you study principle and you understand principle, you can understand theologically why it has to be like that.
We were many years in the church, we never heard about it.
That's the problem.
I ask you, were they ashamed to tell us about it?
Yes. That's the problem of the archangelic leadership. They are ashamed to teach it. Not only are they ashamed to teach it, but the problem is that because they didn't teach it, they create the foundation for this rebellion of the Han Mother.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why for the second king, for him to fully come into his responsibility and become the king, he had to champion the mission of the Messiah and explain the mission of the Messiah.
Oh, right.
And that's what the king did.
Yeah.
Yes.
If so, Jesus, if he didn't die, so he had also 6 married.
Well, he should have 60, 600,
Yes,
6,000.
Sure. Same thing.
Same
Jesus
thing,
had to do.
absolutely.
The problem.
If you look at the uncanonized Gospels, the Gospels which are not canonized, especially in regard to the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, that actually talks about that, because Mary Magdalene's heresy after Jesus' crucifixion was that she was the moon goddess and Jesus was the sun goddess, and that they were actually husband and wife, and that the apostles revolved around them. Archaeology now in Israel is discovering very early Mary Magdalene churches, and they found mosaics where they actually saw in the center Jesus Christ picture with Mary Magdalene surrounded by 12 disciples. So you can see the heresy of Mary Magdalene is identical to the heresy of Han Mother.
Right.
The problem in this story from the far is the problem of shame.
Shame?
Shame.
No, Shem. You're talking about Noah's family?
No, shame.
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 Generally, this has
The
been
problem is not the shame. The problem is that the blood lineage was changed. The problem with Adam is he was basically had his lineage changed because he was dominated by Eve. So that's why when you do the 3-day ceremony, you have that reversing of that order, where the woman is on top and then the man gets on top at the end once he's restored from his archangelic position to the position of son. So in order to reverse the pattern of the fall, the father who comes, the Christ who comes, has to dominate women and has to be on top.
I was thinking about Jesus, the Catholic Church. They were ashamed to speak about sex. And so.
Jesus, I don't think was ashamed to talk about sex.
No, the Catholic Church.
Sure.
They are ashamed.
Well, the Catholic Church is complete heresy. It's the same heresy as the Han Mother. That's, if you look at the Mother Mary theology in the Catholic Church, that's the only begotten daughter theology, which is basically fallen Eve theology, it's goddess theology.
It'd be good if in OSDP we teach really deeply about 6 Marys.
Yeah,
Part
we
of
should
it.
teach about 6 Marys. You know, that's the position we have to be very clear on, is the nature of restoration.
Yeah.
You know, the nature of restoration requires God's seed to be implanted in every woman.
Right.
And that is the essential mission of the coming of the Messiah. And then our teaching is very clear, because the Messiah has come in the second coming and fulfilled that mission, that proceeding going forward, all people who follow in the Messiah's footsteps are back to the situation of one man and one woman, because the providence of that restoration is done, and it's not to be repeated. Anybody who says that they have to repeat that is a heretic.
Right.
So those kind of aspects of the theology, we need to, as we go forward, make it very clear on what our theological position is. It should not be hidden. It should not be, it should be front and center whenever we teach the principle. Mission of the Messiah, what the Messiah must do.
Well, that's the essence of the blessing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Passing the Messiah's seed through
Absolutely.
the blessing into blessed marriages.
So we teach it, and then we teach that that mission was accomplished by Reverend Sun Myung Moon, and that's why we're back to the original order of creation of one man and one woman. That's what we need to teach. So actually that teaching is essential. And that's really the big dividing line between the Orthodox Church and the heretic church. The Orthodox Church sees that the Messiah is fulfilling the mission of the Messiah. The heretic church sees the Messiah as a man with weakness,
Right.
who needs to be saved by the harlot mother.
Right. Right.
So that's why we cannot hide or be ashamed of the mission of the Messiah. We have to go forward talking about the mission of the Messiah.
That's true.
That's what it's all about. It's about the seed.
Yeah.
The seed of God. challenge which we have.
なので我々が今
As
面
we
している挑戦内容は何かと
struggle
いう
to
と
complete God's will,
神様の
we
説
have
明を
to
成就する
struggle
にあ
to
たっ
see
て
things from God's perspective.
我々は人間的な観点で今の状況を
Because
解
if
釈
we
する
look
のでは
at
な
things
く
from the
て
human
神様の観
perspective,
点
we
から
are
解釈
not,
する必
we
要があ
are
りま
going
す
to lead ourselves astray.
なぜかというと人間的な観点から今の状況を解釈してしまうから間違った方向に行ってしまう可能性があります
Yes, it's all about Christ. It's all about the seed.
なのでキリストという観点、そして種という観点というのは非常に重要になって
We
くるわ
need
け
to
です
define the world of Satan and the world of God very clearly.
神様の国はどういう国なのかはっきりとした定義
That's
サ
why-
タンの国はどういう国なのかそういった
That's why the
そういう対策
understanding of the meaning of Babylon is so
観点が必要です
important.
なのでこのバビロンっていう
Babylon is the gate of the
非常に
gods.
重要な
It's
わ
the
けです
woman who has her legs open.
バビロンっていうのは皆さん知っている
It's
よう
the
にザ神教に
womb
続く門であり
It's
そ
the
して
one womb which
淫乱情を
receives a
象徴するわけです
lot of sperm from different guys. It's the whore.
バビロンっていうものはどういうふうに暗記されているかというのは多くの種をその子宮に入れる
So we
淫乱
have
情
to understand the religion of Satan is going to be the religion of the whore.
なのでこういう観点からサタン的な宗教はどういう宗教なのかって考えたときにそれは雑神教
So that if Satan's religion is the
淫乱情
religion of the
の宗教にな
whore,
るわけです
what is God's religion?
だったらサタン的な宗教がこういう宗教だったら神様の宗教はどういう宗教なんでしょうか
It's going to be the opposite.
その逆になりま
It's
すよ
not
ね
going to be the womb religion. It's going to be the seed religion.
いわゆるこの子宮を中心としたサタン的宗教になるんではなくて種を持った男性の生殖器を中心とした
And
宗教になるわけです
that's what Christianity is all about. It's about Christ, Jesus Christ, in His first and second coming as the seed.
でキリスト教の信仰とキリスト教の神学を見た時も全てイエス様に関する内容です。イエス様がメシアとして来て再立宗が来て神の種を持ってくるっていうのがキリスト教の神学的指導です。
Normal.
Could you wonder you could try to help us understand why the 6 Marys were necessary?
Well, there should be 3 billion Marys because every woman is supposed to get the seed.
6マリアはなぜ必要なのかという質問に対してなんですけれども、
Because God told them to have all the women of the world. That's what the definition of Christ is. He's the bridegroom.
6人に限る
This is the fundamental error which people make. They expect the Lord of the Second Advent to be a role model. He is not the role model. He is Christ who comes to fulfill the purpose of creation.
この6マリアに対して多くの人が混乱してコンフューズする。
And that is what the second king is. He is the role model, which you put onto the true parents. If you didn't have a problem with father fulfilling his mission, then the mission of true parents was completed in one generation. But now you have a role model. You have an apostle who follows Christ of the second coming, who is absolutely pure.
で皆さんが本当にこの
Well, I'm sitting next to him. I heard it all. I understand it. Why don't you? Because your ears are closed.
He didn't say the Messiah has to plant the seeds to also make
Yes, he does.
Did he?
He did. I heard him 100 times.
I didn't.
It's because you don't speak Korean.
Is that along that
Well, the
line?
mission of Christ is very clear. He is the bridegroom. He is the seed for all the womb.
メシアっていう立場は
In 1979, he walked up and down those aisles in the ballroom, touched every sister's hand. At that point, I felt like I was his bride. So I think that
1979
Symbolic.
Well, that's what he said. He said all the women are his bride.
年でお父様はそう言って
The episode of the six Marys in True Father's course, should it have been part of the original course of the Messiah, or was it a secondary course owing to some failure?
No, it's central. No. The bridegroom is a center of the returning Christ. The central identity of Christ when he returns is the bridegroom. So we have to understand that it's absolutely central to providence. It's the bridegroom is the one that will take in out of the 10, the 5 virgins. So the bridegroom, Jesus himself described himself as the bridegroom that will return. So it's absolutely central to the mission of the Lord's Second Advent. Because the mission of the Lord's Second Advent is to establish the seed of God and the family of God, which comes from the seed of God. The seed and spermata of God, which is the male seed. That's why Jesus is a male. He doesn't come androgynously. He doesn't come as some kind of transsexual. He is a male because his kingdom will be, set and created, and his sovereignty will reign and rule over this earth and it will destroy the kingdoms of Satan of this world. So it's absolutely critical, and it's the primary identity of the Lord's Second Advent is the bridegroom. And then of course the second is judge, the judge of evil. And also third is the King of Kings. So we see that Father has established both the bridegroom position through the six marriage providence, but then further on through the blessing providence in the 3-day ceremony, where all the brides can become one with Christ by becoming brides to Christ, and their husband becomes from the archangel to a son of God, and then carries the father's seed, just like a son carries the father's seed. And so that is absolutely central. And so Father, of course, the bridegroom still stands as the center of the marriage. And it is through the center that the husband relates with his wife and honors his father, because now he's become a son. And it's from the covenant marriage that the wife, who was a fallen woman, fallen Eve, who has become now restored Eve, honors her husband, which is the bridegroom, or true Adam. And then on the second level is the judgment of evil. So Father established very clearly the archangelic world, the satanic world, especially manifested in political Satanism, which he called Satanism and also communism, and identified that as the source of Satan's evil, and he judged it. And so that kind of clarity was not existing in the body of Christ. Of course, we know, because we had the whole liberation theology movement, basically Christians, both Protestant and Catholic, teaching that Jesus was communist. That's like teaching Jesus was Satan or something. Okay. And so Father came and he clarified that and judged Satan's kingdom. And so he separated Satan's kingdom from God's kingdom. And then, of course, Father established his kingship, which is the establishment of the kingdom of God on earth. So those three responsibilities of the Lord's Second Advent were all fulfilled, and now they're continuing on through the three kingships providence. And of course, you see now the sovereignty revolution spreading over the world, at least in the West. Now it's spreading. Hey, Michelle.
Father, also the episode of Sami, is there an explanation?
Mm-hmm. Of what? What was that?
Sami Park, is there an explanation, providential explanation?
Well, I think because we're not understanding the role of the bridegroom. The bridegroom must take on all the fallen wombs, must become one with the bridegroom. It's very simple. All the fallen wombs must become one with the bridegroom. That's how fallen wombs produce the next generation or second generation. They produce God's children, even though they're fallen wombs. You see what I mean? So it doesn't matter, Sammy, 6 Mary, doesn't matter. It should be 6 billion or 3 billion Marys. It should be 3 billion Marys that are connecting to Christ, because then their womb can bring forth God's children. That's what the whole blessing is. That's the blessing, 3-day ceremony. The covenant blessing is where all people become engrafted to God's lineage, not only become his adopted children, his actual children. Russia again.
Yes, Russia.
Okay.
Related to that, you would think that the Messiah, more than anyone else, would embody the teaching that he brings to the people. So if he's teaching people don't commit adultery, you would think that he would not have relationships outside of his marriage. Otherwise, who will listen to him and follow? How do we explain that?
No, I think it's important because Christ is unique. So Christ has a unique mission. For example, in the Bible, when Jesus comes back and literally kills the other people of the kingdom, that doesn't mean that all Christians should just, even after that's done, all Christians should continue just killing as they desire. But when Christ comes, he has a different role, and he is ontologically different. So he has a different mission than the victory that he has to walk both in indemnity and on the cross is different from not only his followers, but the generations that come after him. And he gives us the blessing, which is very clear in terms of our, living up to the ideal that God has given from Adam and Eve. But Father must burden the cross, and indemnity of the 10,000 crosses for him to stand victorious and completely separate all the fallen peoples, including especially the fallen women, from Satan, to be reclaimed. And that's why he gives that's why when you married your spouse, even though she was under Satan's lineage, and you were also Satan's lineage, but you were made from archangel to son, then he gives one of his sons to the fallen woman, which then also allows her to become the bride, Christ. You see, but this is the problem. We don't have the mission that the Messiah has. Jesus didn't give the mission for everybody to. He did say, pick up your cross, but not all Christians had to die literally on a cross. Right? He had to pay that price. And we may think that, if we do the same thing as Jesus and die on the cross, that we will have the same effect. We won't, because Jesus is a substantial body of God on earth. So his sacrifice on the cross means everything. It's the road to salvation. And so it's about Father, and as the Lord's second advent, having to fulfill his mission, and then to establish his kingship and kingdom, wherein which the ideal of God and the law of God and the principle of God is very clearly put forth. So that's why that mission is done. And so that's why, for example, any of the kingships or any of the future blessed families cannot use that as an example. They have already been given the principle. They've already been given the ideal. And the Messiah has walked that course and been victorious there. You see? That course has been fulfilled.
엄마 아빠 수고했구만. 이 돌담을 쌓고 이 산중에 이것을 올라가기 위해서는 형님과 어머니 아버지가 얼마나 수고했다는 사실, 영계 5대 성령이 얼마나 수고했다는 사실. 너희들이 희낙나게 해서 거기서 술을 먹고 쓸데없는 행동을 하게 되면 벼락을 내려야 된다는 그 공동 꼭대기에서 벼락이 돼가지고 무너져야 된다고 생각하는 아버지 것을 알아야 돼. 잊지 말고 부채끼리 돌아가 은원하면서 새로운 결심을 하지 않될 통일가에 된 훈시와 더불어 너희 가정에 처음이자 마지막에 훈시가 될지 몰라. 명심하여야 되겠어. 조국이여 밝아오라. 사생결단 전로부터 실천공회되기를 비나이다. 아주